We begin at 6 o'clock in Suffolk, where someone found a woman's body inside a transport bus this morning.
The bus was parked at the Pilot Travel Center on Holland Road. 13 News Now anchor Regina has the latest on the investigation.
This is actually a very busy gas station just off of Route 58. Now, there's still a lot of unanswered questions about what exactly happened here. But what we do know is that a bus that looks like a school bus pulled up to one of the pumps here. And then this morning, police found a woman's body inside.
It was a little nerve-wracking this morning when I came to see that somebody had died at the Pilot.
Bryce Chapman was parked across the street in his semi-truck when police found a woman's body in a nearby bus.
It looked like a school bus. I thought kids would have been on it or something like that. It was looking suspicious to me.
Police say it was not a school or city bus. But just after 6 Monday morning, officers found the woman dead inside. They didn't say how she died, why she was on the bus, or if anyone was with her.
I saw police officers, 4 detectives, and a whole bunch of with caution tape and everything, so it was a little scary.
Some truck drivers who visit this gas station often found the situation strange.
I wonder, like, what kind of people come through, you know, and there's no telling, you know, because with trucks, you go all over the place, different countries and stuff like that.
I reached out to the Pilot company spokesperson, Stephanie Myers, who says the safety and well-being of our team members and guests is always our main concern. As this is an open investigation, we are cooperating fully with local authorities. In Suffolk, I'm Regina 13 News Now.
Right now, a civil jury is deliberating whether 4 Virginia Beach police officers were in the wrong when they shot and killed India Kager 3 years ago.
She was in a car with her child's father, Angelo Perry, when police were trying to take Perry into custody. They say he started shooting at them, so they returned fire.
Her family is suing the officers for $30 million in damages. 13 News Now reporter Jacqueline Lee is following this case live from the Virginia Beach courthouse tonight. Jacqueline.
Regina and David, the jury is still deliberating, and they've been deliberating for the past 4 hours now. Now, about 2 hours ago, the jury did come back. They said they were deadlocked. They could not come to a unanimous decision. So the judge then read them an Allen charge and said basically, go back, continue deliberating, which is what the jury is doing as we speak. Now, here's a recap of what happened in court today and what the jury is mulling over. The plaintiffs pled their case one last time before the jury. They're trying to prove that Virginia Beach police officers acted with gross negligence when they fatally shot Kager 3 years ago. On September 5th, 2015, Kager drove Angelo Perry, the father of her child, from Maryland to Virginia Beach. SWAT officers planned a takedown procedure against Perry. You see, Perry was a known violent criminal, guilty of robbery, homicide, and shootings. Officers believed Perry was about to murder a man later that night and wanted to stop him. Kager pulled into this 7-Eleven, and the SWAT team plan unfolded. Officers threw a flash grenade. Perry started shooting, and then officers shot back. Attorneys for Kager's family argue the officers knew there was an unidentified female in the car, but didn't bother to identify her and modify their plan of attack to protect her life. The plaintiffs also argue that police knew it was possible there was a third person sitting behind Kager in the car, but didn't confirm before launching the assault. That person was Kager and Perry's 4-month-old son. During the vehicle takedown, both Perry and Kager were killed. Attorney Edward Brady said the officers didn't use their judgment or discretion, and Kager died as a result. However, the defense argues that Perry is the one who put Kager in harm's way by firing at police officers first. Deputy City Attorney Christopher Boynton said the officers followed the safest plan of action, and when Perry fired, the officers had no other choice but to fire back. Now, as for what happens next, if the jury comes back and says they're still deadlocked, the judge can do several things. Number one, the judge can send him back and say, continue deliberating. The judge can also say, come back tomorrow. So we'll have updates for you guys coming up on 13 News Now at 11. Live in Virginia Beach, Jacqueline Lee, 13 News Now.
Right now, 2 corrections officers at the Portsmouth City Jail are out of a job after investigators say they changed logbooks. The State Board of Corrections says in those logbooks, the officers claimed they checked on inmates who died, but they never actually did. 2 other COs at the jail near Farmville were fired as a result of the same investigation. It began in November, in part because of Jamichael Mitchell's death. He's an inmate at the was at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail.
Continuing coverage tonight of an officer-involved shooting in Virginia Beach. As the suspect remains in the hospital, we've learned more about her. Shantrina Fountain has been arrested in the past for speeding, misusing 911 and license violations, among other crimes, but she does not have a violent criminal history. Police accuse Fountain of stabbing a woman at the Navy Federal Credit Union on Providence Road in Virginia Beach Friday. After that, officers say they found her at the corner of Baxter and Princess Anne Roads. That is when they say she lunged at them. She was holding a knife and one officer fired a weapon. Fountain is expected to be okay. Police say she will be turned over to the sheriff's office when she is released from the hospital. Now, take a look at this. Fire crews in Hampton say they may never know what started this large fire on a 40-foot boat in a marina. It happened this morning at Blue Water Yachting Center on Marine Road. Witnesses tell 13 News Now they heard an explosion before the boat went up in flames.
Out astern, and those flames are 35, 40 feet high.
My first thought is I hope there was nobody in it.
No one was on the boat when the fire started, and no one was hurt while firefighters battled the flames. One of the partners at the marina told 13 News Now this is the first time a boat has caught fire there in the past 20 years, but he compared it to most marina fires, saying this one was pretty minor.